Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Nashville. I'm Greg Bailey, serving as president this year. Glad to have all of you here on Monday, and glad to have our guests with us too. First of all, please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. Past President Lady Bird will provide an invocation and lead us in the pledge.
A number of years ago, Harold Hazelip gave this prayer, and I was so impressed with it, I asked him to send it to me, whereupon I learned it was from Thomas Merton's Thoughts in Solitude. It's in the first person, but I think you can all relate to it, so please bow your heads with me. My Lord God, I have no idea where I'm going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end, nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think that I am following your will does not mean that I'm actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope that I have that desire in all that I'm doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire. And I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road, though I may know nothing about it. Therefore will I trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone. Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, lady. Ronald Roberts will come forward and introduce our visiting Rotarians and those members who are attending their first meeting.
Thank you, President Gregg. Good afternoon, everyone. We have three visiting Rotarians with us today. Astor Borson from Helensburgh, Landsborden, Sweden, and he's in the metal industry. Richard Braun from Melrose, Massachusetts, in education. And Rick Glaze from Palo Alto, California, in investment management. Can we please give them a Rotary welcome? And we also have one new member with us today in her first meeting, Kathleen Murphy, if she'll stand. She's with Murphy & Associates, and she's sponsored by Richard Exton.
Thank you, Ronald. On your table today, you're going to see a piece of paper here that's a survey 1 through 5. This is from our friends at the Wild Horse Saloon. If you wouldn't mind filling this out, they all get graded, I guess, in the, evaluated based on how these numbers come out. There's also a place for you to put menu ideas, and if you want to come to Wild Horse concerts, put your email address. So if you wouldn't mind filling that out before you leave today, our friends here at the Wild Horse would appreciate that a lot. Mary Baker, if you'll come forward, she has an announcement about Lead Academy.
Thank you, President Gregg. Good morning. I'm here to recruit 35 fabulous Rotarians to come to Lead Academy on November the 1st, that's a Friday, from 11:45 until 1, to help us talk with some sophomores who are going to be happy to tell you about their academic achievements, and probably not as hard as they want to be cool, they may not be as verbose with you as they probably are with their friends, but it means a lot to them to have people come and ask them questions and listen to them. And we want them to be fine, upstanding citizens of Nashville, so I hope you'll sign up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Jennifer Cole will introduce today's speaker.
I love introducing people who really need no introduction. But I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege and tell you that I'm thrilled to introduce our speaker today, Mayor Karl Dean. As a mom of a fourth grader in Metro Public Schools, I can tell you that each day I'm so thankful about what he has done and continues to do to improve the public school system. As an East Nashvilleian who now can find my lawnmower every single day, I'm really thrilled of all what he's done to improve public safety in our neighborhoods throughout the community. I've never once missed that lawnmower during his tenure. And as a person who each and every day works with artists and musicians, I am just thrilled to say that what he does every day with economic development and land use and planning makes this the best city in the world for people who have a creative talent to come, to live, to work, to play, and to make their livelihood. I would now like to introduce to you the mayor of our fair city, the Red Sox #1 fan, and the mayor of Nowville, Mayor Karl Dean.
Well, thank you, Jen, and it's great to be with you all. I want to recognize the elected officials here who are with us. It's quite a distinguished membership you have. Congressman Jim Cooper. Jim, thank you for all you do. Council Lady Emily Evans is here. Charlie Cardwell, our great trustee. David Smith, the juvenile court clerk. Tori Johnson, our wonderful DA. And Bill Koch, the mayor of Forest Hills. Thank you all for being with us. And my wife, Ann, is here too. Ann, thank you for being here. Today, I'm here to talk about good news, and I think Nashville has a lot of it. All of you have heard about the big national headlines on Nashville that we've received during the course of the past year, and I don't need to repeat it for this crowd. But it has indeed been a very good year for our city. I like how one article described us. The formerly sleepy southern town is now the nation's brightest spot of opportunity. This view of Nashville was echoed by Richard Florida, who spoke at the Chamber's annual meeting this past Friday. Richard is an authority on cities. He's an urbanist and an author, and most famously, he wrote The Rise of the Creative Class. It's reaffirming to hear a national news outlet and an expert say what we have known for years, that Nashville is indeed a city on the rise and that our best days still lie ahead of us. We have truly hit our stride, and that is something we should all be very proud of. As writers and researchers like Richard Florida and The Triumph of the City author Edward Glaser will tell us, cities don't rise or fall by chance. There are very clear patterns to what make a city successful. Some matters are beyond our control, like moderate climate and central location. Other parts of the equation we can control. Diversified economy, affordable living, business-friendly practices, high quality of life, and having an educated workforce. But what makes Nashville stand apart from other mid-sized cities that have these same qualities is our ability to attract creative and entrepreneurial people. This is what Richard Florida writes about, and this was his main message to the Chamber on Friday. We have music, we have healthcare, we have world-class universities, we have a vibrant business community, all of which bring bright, innovative minds to our city who come here to realize their dreams, and they come here and realize this is a great place to live, and they stay. I talked about this during my State of Metro address. Capital is attracted to talent. We have talent, and so companies want to invest here. Entrepreneurs want to start their businesses here. That is why Nashville has a significantly higher rate of sole proprietors at 23% than the national average. We are a fun place to live. We're an easy place to do business, and we're filled with people who make great things happen. And what's truly significant in driving the national conversation about Nashville is that this is not just our perspective, but that's how the world is seeing us. This summer, we had two big job announcements back-to-back. In August, Aramark announced plans to add 1,000 jobs here. And then a few weeks later, we announced that UBS, the global banking firm, is adding 1,000 high-paying jobs downtown with the $36 million capital investment. This is on top of the news we announced last year that HCA, a homegrown headquarters that embodies the entrepreneurial spirit that I just described, is expanding 2 of their business units for economic development win of 2,000 jobs. During the UBS press conference, the COO of UBS, Kathleen Lynch, said, "Nashville is teeming with talent, culture, and limitless opportunities. I can think of no better compliment for a city. Our challenge now is to stay the course. But staying the course doesn't mean keeping the status quo. In fact, to keep moving forward requires constant change and constant improvement. We can't try to hang on to the way things are now and expect our city to grow and prosper." During the UBS announcement, I made the point that government doesn't create jobs. Businesses do. The role of a city and a mayor is to build on an environment where jobs can be created and that work is never done. So the question that drives the agenda in my office every day is, what do we need to be doing today so that people and businesses want to invest here now, in 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years? What's going to allow us to continue to be a place where entrepreneurs and artists can grow their creativity and can continue to grow our economy? There is no simple solution. It takes many things like working on quality of life, working on public safety, and most importantly, working on improving our schools. One of the biggest ways my office and any mayor is able to make an impact on these things is through the city's budget. It is the largest undertaking by our administration every year. We look at all of our government departments, all of our needs, all the areas where we could choose to invest or not, and decide how tax dollars should be spent. The budget is where priorities are set. It's one thing to say education, public safety, and quality of life are important. It's another thing to show they're important through strategic decisions. These decisions indicate about what we care about. And the term investing is the right one to use because our goal in making these decisions is to generate the largest possible return. Every dollar spent as a city should make us better, stronger, and more vibrant. The outcome of these investments decisions literally shape our community, whether or not people will view it as a place they want to build a life or start a business. Richard Florida calls this placemaking. He believes quality of place is the #1 factor in how people decide whether or not a community is right for them. And I tend to agree with that. People want to know that their needs will be met, the basics like public safety, education, and availability of jobs. They also want to enjoy where they live. They want parks and cultural amenities. They want to have pride in their community and how it looks. With the time I have left today, I want to talk about some investments we've made and need to continue to make to assure Nashville's quality of life and place. I know there's been a lot of excitement this summer about the prospect of a new baseball stadium at Sulphur Dell. I love baseball, and let me note that the Red Sox have the best record in baseball. A new stadium in North Nashville, just beyond the Capitol, at baseball's historic home, would fill the missing link between two vibrant parts of our city, downtown and Germantown. Sharon, thank you. And it will generate new development along Jefferson Street. So I share the enthusiasm. I hope it's something we can make work, but it is a work in progress. Then a week after news broke about baseball, we announced plans for the next phase of riverfront redevelopment on both the east and the west banks of the riverfront downtown. I'm equally excited about making the riverfront a destination for families and tourists, especially the plans to add an outdoor performance venue and park space on the thermal site. We need to preserve and protect this last great piece of open space downtown, and the plans we've announced will do that. I also look forward to summer nights when the symphony will perform with our skyline as a backdrop. Cultural amenities like those are important to our city's vibrancy and to making downtown an area every Nashvilleian can enjoy. They're important to our quality of place. There's also a lot of conversation going on right now about the AMP, the 7.1-mile bus rapid transit system that would run in dedicated lanes from St. Thomas in West Nashville to 5 Points in East Nashville. Transit is a critical investment, and one where we're actually well behind our peer cities. The cities that we compete with every day, and you're all in this with me, when we get up every day and we go to work, the cities that we're going up against, and this is a friendly competition, but we're up against Charlotte and Austin weekly, every day in my mind. And those cities are literally a decade ahead of us when it comes to transit, literally a decade ahead of us. Giving people the ability to move around without a car is going to become increasingly important as we can continue to grow over the coming decades, and especially as we work to remain attractive to young workers, a growing number of which want the freedom to choose to live without a car. I would be happy, and invite me back to fill an entire speech talking about any one of these three projects. But I would still have some important things I need to say about some other projects. So instead of focusing on those projects that you've already known about and you've read about recently, I want to use this opportunity to talk about some important investments we're making as a city that you may or may not have heard of. The type of projects that impact residents in all corners of our city and county, but don't always gather the big news headlines. I'll start with one and see if you can guess what it is. Over the past 4 years, we have committed to spending over $468 million, that's right, nearly $500 million, on capital construction and repairs to something that you depend on every day, multiple times a day. Our city literally could not function without it, but I would bet you rarely give any thought to it, and it's not our roads. It's our water and sewage system and stormwater infrastructure. By the time I leave office, we will have spent far more during my administration on water mains, sewer lines, stormwater projects than it costs to build the Music City Center. Far more. Since we created the capital program in 2009 that's funding these infrastructure improvements, we have replaced or added 59 miles of water and sewer mains through Davidson County, and the list of projects is ongoing. It falls into that category of stuff that people don't tend to think about until it doesn't work, until a water main breaks and blocks traffic during rush hour, or an inefficient stormwater patch backs up rainwater into your yard or driveway. It's fundamental infrastructure need for our city that goes directly to the quality of place. For those who've lived here a long time or never lived anywhere else, I think water is something we take for granted. We're a city built on a river that gives us an abundant supply of fresh water. Unlike some other large cities, we don't have to worry about access to enough water to keep up our growth. But what we do have to think about is how that water is distributed, processed, so that we can protect our environment and meet our basic needs of fire protection and safe drinking water. You probably don't worry about those things very often, and that's good. It means that our water department is doing its job. Also, water system infrastructure is not a big, sexy project. In fact, other than ditches or storm driveway pipes, you'll probably never see what's being built because it's all being built underground. And that's why, despite the price tag, it doesn't get talked about very much. But our decision to prioritize capital investments in this area started early in my first term. I came into office and we literally had no bonding capacity when it came to water and stormwater projects. And we had to take action to position ourselves to sustain Nashville's growth for the decades to come. And if you've seen the headlines about places like Atlanta, Orlando, Phoenix, or Houston, you can appreciate that not allowing the basic needs of access to water to hamper Nashville's ability to attract new business and thrive was the right decision to make, and it's a decision that will help us for decades. The second investment I want to talk about is not a single project, but rather an entire geographic area. When we're deciding where and how we're going to invest in infrastructure, schools, fire protection, and amenities like parks and libraries, we have to look at where the greatest need is. The one area that consistently topped this list is the southeastern section of our county, which includes Antioch and Cane Ridge. It is by far the fastest growing part of Davidson County. Between the 2000 census and the 2010 census, approximately 70% of the population growth, 70% of the population growth in Davidson County occurred in Planning District 12 and 13, which is the southeast area. And while families have flocked there, reality is that over the last decade, our city services haven't kept up with the growth. So beginning with our first capital spending plan in 2009, and even more so with the capital spending plans that followed, we have intentionally prioritized projects in the southeastern section of our county. School buildings have been a big part of this investment. Everyone here knows how I feel about education. It's the #1 thing we got to get right, and we can only get it right if we have adequate facilities. Over 4 capital spending plans, we have invested $54 million in school buildings in South and Southeastern Davidson County, replacing portable classrooms at elementary and middle schools, adding classrooms to overcrowded buildings, and constructing a brand new Cane Ridge Elementary School. The story is the same for fire halls. 2 of the 8 fire halls my administration has funded to replace or renovate are located in the southeast. Then this summer, we broke ground on the project I think will have the biggest impact on the Antioch area, a mixed-use complex at the former Hickory Hollow Mall that includes a library, a regional community center, a 4-acre park in what is now an asphalt parking lot, a community ice rink and hockey center that will be run through a public-private partnership with the Nashville Predators. Altogether, the complex represents a $32 million capital investment that will replace what used to be the J.C. Penney building at the mall. Each of the components stand on their own merits, but by co-locating them, we are making it convenient for families to access these important city services. Even more, we are hoping to transform the mall into a hub of activity that I believe will spur redevelopment throughout the commercial and retail area. On the other side of the mall, Nashville State Community College has already transformed the former Dillard's building into a satellite campus serving over 1,400 students. The city pitched in $1 million to make that campus a reality, and the investment is paying great dividends with all those students, over 1,400, already enrolled there. And in essence, what happened was the head of Nashville State came and said they needed funds to be matched in order to make this investment to move off White Bridge Road, have 2 different campuses, one in South Nashville, one in West Nashville. We contributed $1 million, and I give the council a ton of credit for that. This kind of came out of nowhere of supporting this. And we now have a new, vibrant community college at the old Hickory Hollow Mall site that I think is going to be the most transformative thing that's been done out there in years. Not only in terms of education, in terms of an educated workforce, but in creating really great economic energy. We saw a similar transformation take place at 100 Oaks Mall, where Vanderbilt did a magnificent job in a mixed-use medical complex. That area is now thriving, and we will see those same results in Antioch. The next area I would like to mention in terms of an investment is open space and parks. This is an area we've invested a lot, and I think for good reason. Since taking office, we've acquired over 2,400 acres of open space, most of it parkland. And we funded over $130 million in parks capital expenditures, not only land acquisitions, but new greenways, playgrounds, community centers, and maintenance to our existing facilities. When I made the point earlier that people want to enjoy where they live, access to parks, green space, and opportunities to get outdoors and be active is a huge part of it. Here in Middle Tennessee, we are blessed with a unique landscape, an environment with lush hills, plenty of creeks, and old-growth forest. We not only have the opportunity to allow Nashvillians today to live better lives by enjoying these resources, but I believe we also have a responsibility to preserve these for future generations. Imagine Nashville without Warner Parks or Centennial Park. It wouldn't be the same quality of place that we know today, which is why we made the same types of decisions that Nashvillians made decades before when those parks were created. We acquired Cornelia Ford Air Park, 135 acres adjacent to Shelby Bottoms along the Cumberland River. We preserved 290 acres in the corridor between Bells Bend and Beeman parks for green space and future trail connections. We acquired Ravenwood Country Club, 181 acres in Hermitage, which will be open to the public when we take over management after this year. And then this past December, we acquired 600 acres near Ravenwood. It's farmland that sits in the bend of the Stones River. This parkland in Hermitage is worth explaining. With the opportunity came along to acquire what we call the Stones River Farm, it was one we couldn't pass up. It's a special piece of undeveloped land that sits between 3 existing park areas. 2 rivers to the east, Peeler Park and Taylor Farm to the north, just over the Cumberland, and Stone Hall and Ravenwood to the west. Those parks sit adjacent to each other and connect to Shelby Bottoms, which stretches nearly to downtown. West Nashville has Edwin and Percy Warner parks. We saw the addition of Ravenwood and Stones River Farm as the opportunity to create a northeast part of our county, what we have in Warner Park system. It's a legacy we will leave for our grandchildren and their children and so on. I could say it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The price was fair and it was good, but it was truly a once-and-forever opportunity. We can't make any more farmland in our river bends than what already exists today. Preserving the Stones River Farm and creating a 1,500-acre park system in Hermitage and Donaldson is going to protect the quality of place in that area for generations to come. The last investment I want to talk about today is not a capital investment, but an operating one. It's an investment I wanted to mention specifically to this group because you all played an important role in it. In 2008, just about a year after taking office, I spoke to the downtown Rotary and told you about an organization called Teach for America, which recruits bright, idealistic college graduates that want to make a difference in students' lives and places them in the most challenging schools. It's a program for not only changing results in classrooms, but changing cities. Because when the TFA core members finish their 2-year commitment, many of them stay. And it shouldn't be surprising to anybody in this room that in terms of keeping our graduates from the TFA, Nashville is beaten like every city. People who move to Nashville, and take it from me, it happened to me, come here for education and you stay, because it is a wonderful place to live. They stay to continue to teach or to become leaders or to go into business, and they stay and they remain advocates for education, and because of that, they make the environment for school reform better. The results of TFA here in Nashville have been nothing short of remarkable. According to our state's own assessment process, Teach for America produces the most teachers in Tennessee having a positive academic impact on student achievement. This past year, of the 5 best performing schools in Nashville that were also high poverty schools, 4 of them had Teach for America trained teachers composing more than half of their staff. Cane Ridge High School had the highest algebra growth in the city and the 4th highest in the state, and their algebra department was composed entirely of Teach for America staff. 8 school leaders in Nashville are alums of Teach for America, including 3 who were themselves part of the Nashville Teach for America Corps that came here in 2009. I'm sharing this with you not just because it's worth bragging about. I think it's definitely worth bragging about this success of our schools, but because it's important that Metro Schools, which controls its budget, we send money, it continues to be committed to Teach for America going forward. I hope that you'll help me send a message that we need to keep Teach for America in Nashville, and that we need to make it a priority to further education reform that are achieving results. And because that is really what it's about results. So when you have the system that's producing the best teachers, that is producing the best results, it deserves support. Before I close, I want to cover one more topic. Sitting here listening to me talk about these many different investments we're making across the city, I know some of you are thinking, wow, that is a lot of money. Can we really afford all of this? And so I think this presents a good opportunity to remind folks about how capital investments work, and specifically our history with capital expenditures here in Nashville. A couple of points I want to make that people forget. Number one, the Music City Center, which opened since I last been here, opened in May, is something which some thought as a choice over funding other vital public services I just described. The Music City Center was not funded with property tax dollars. It was funded by dedicated revenues generated by and for the tourism industry. And the revenue collections for the Music City Center, again, none property tax revenue, this is revenue from tourism-related fees, have already come in nearly $20 million over the projections calculated in the feasibility study done in 2010. All right. We said the center would pay for itself, and it is. Next week, the Omni opens, and I think the results will only get better and better. The second point I want to make is that our city is in good financial standing. We have AA bond ratings by both major bond rating agencies, which are on the high end of municipalities, providing full services, including public education. We maintained these high bond ratings throughout the recession. And if you look at the bond rating reports, they cite things like our moderate debt levels and our capacity to fund what's set out in our city's capital improvement programs. Our rainy day fund, our reserve fund, is higher than it was the day I took office, and our tax rate is actually lower. In fact, we have the lowest tax rate of all 4 major cities in Tennessee. We fund capital projects like roads, sidewalks, and parks by bonds issued by the city that are then paid off over time. This payment structure reflects the fact that capital projects are long-term investments with long-term benefits spanning much more than just 1-year budget cycle. And perhaps even more important than our bond rating is our history with paying down our debt. We pay down our debt quickly. Nashville pays down $100 million or more in debt every year. We set 20-year amortization levels, meaning half our debt will be paid off in 10 years. All of this is to say we can afford these investments. We have to be prudent. We have to be thoughtful. We have to make investments that are going to lead to leveraged advantage for us. But they are truly strengthening our city, our quality of place, and only further grows our tax base and our economic vitality. I enjoy the opportunity to speak to this group every year, and I know the topics we covered today maybe were not what you were expecting. But I think it's important to go beyond the headlines and sometimes maybe understand the bigger picture of what we're trying to achieve as a government and as a city. You know, I talk about the quality of place and the monetary investments we're making as a city to ensure that bright, talented people will continue to want to live here. There's one other thing that Richard Florida talked about on Friday that's worth mentioning that plays a big role in whether or not a city succeeds. He talked about basically 3 T's. He said the 3 things for the future that really are going to make a big difference are technology, talent, and tolerance. The first 2, technology and talent, can move. People can get up and go when they want to go. That's the great thing about living in a free country. Technology moves every day. It moves faster every day. But tolerance and the character of a city doesn't move. That's who we are. That's what makes us different. So the cities that are really going to do great are going to be the cities that have talent, and talent comes in all different forms, all different types of people. Cities that embrace diversity, cities that are welcoming, and cities that are friendly. I can't tell you how many times in a week somebody says to me, whether it's a Nashvilleian or whether it's a visitor, is, you know, Nashville's a great city, I love it here, but you know why I really love it? It's because the people are so friendly. I mean, how often do you hear that? And that's the value that we have that I hope we never lose. That we are the city that is embracing. We are the city that is welcoming. We are the city that is celebrating diversity. And we are the city that is tolerant. If we have that, and we have all our other strengths, there's no stopping us. Thank you. It's been an honor to speak to you all.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. We have a couple of minutes, and the mayor said he's willing to take a few questions. We have Our greeters with microphones, if you'll hold up the microphone and hold up your hand, we'll make sure we get you all to put together. All right, over here, Chuck.
Thank you, Mayor. We read often about the pension fund challenges that are facing other cities. Can you describe the challenges that Nashville faces?
I think Nashville starts off in better shape than most other cities, and there have been some actions taken in the last couple of years to help us address some of those challenges. Probably the biggest thing that was done is we moved from having a 5-year vesting time period for Metro employees. It was changed about 10 years ago where Metro employees could vest for benefits after being employed for only 5 years. And we, with the cooperation and help of the council, moved that to 10 years, which will be substantial savings. And we've worked on some other changes that I think will have additional savings, but our pension fund is in good shape, and we're keeping our eye on it, and we will continue to do so.
Other questions?
Don't feel compelled. No.
That's okay. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Since the Rotary Club began participating in the effort to eradicate polio, we have reduced polio cases by 99% worldwide. We get closer every day to eradicating polio. Mr. Mayor, on behalf of you and each week for our speakers, to thank you for your time, we make a contribution to Rotary's Polio Plus Fund as we continue our effort to eradicate polio in the world. So thank you very much for being with us today. Next week, Becca Stevens, founder of Thistle Farms, will speak. October the 7th, Dr. Larry Bartles from Vanderbilt University on robotics, and we will take a break for the Columbus Day holiday on October the 14th. Thank you all. Have a great week. Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.